With the news breaking that, in fact, unemployment fraud was largely in Democrat states, the question is, were they in on the take? And I just give you my opinion. It's not very, I don't have a very high opinion of Democrats, so I would go ahead and assume Democrat states are probably siphoning off this money intentionally, knowing that babies are on unemployment when they should not be. And there are questions now as to what this means. The Post-Millennial reports Democrat-led states allowed nearly $400 million in unemployment fraud. Interesting. DOGE has revealed that $382 million in fraudulent unemployment payments have been issued since 2020, with the vast majority traced to the Democrat-led states of California, New York, and Massachusetts. The three states were responsible for $305 million of improper payments. California alone accounted for 68% of benefits issued under former President Joe Biden to parolees flagged by federal authorities as either listed on the government's terror watch list or possessing criminal records. Wow. For those that don't know, let me pull up the original context here so you can understand what's going on. The Department of Government Efficiency says an initial survey of unemployment insurance claims since 2020 revealed the following: 24,500 people over 115 years old getting $59 million in benefits. 28,000 people between the ages of 1 and 5 got $254 million. And 9,700 with birth dates over 15 years in the future claimed $69 million in benefits. In one case, someone with a birthday in the year 2154 claimed $41,000. How is that an accident? Now, like I said before, some of the babies may be typos. Like it's 2025. Someone might accidentally write 2005, or for their birthday, they might actually put today's date, which would then have them at like a year old. And if he's saying that someone did claim last year, typos explain some of it, not all of it. They want to say there's a reason for the mass exodus from Democrat-run states that have mismanaged their economies and driven residents to the nearest Republican-led state. High taxes, poor stewardship of taxpayer dollars, and progressive policies continue to yield negative results, which is why Americans overwhelmingly support the work of DOGE. DOGE reported earlier this week that hundreds of millions of fraudulent unemployment benefits went out since 2020 to tens of thousands of recipients. Among the beneficiaries were individuals with birthdays that had not yet occurred. I love that one. DOGE also revealed that it was routine under the Biden administration to admit immigrants into the country with minimal screening. As a result, more than 6,000 individuals with criminal records or who were on the FBI's terror watch list reportedly entered the country. DOGE found that hundreds of these individuals later collected government benefits, including roughly $42,000 in unemployment assistance. Others reportedly received federal student aid, food stamps, and IRS tax refunds. Ladies and gentlemen, fraud. I'm going to go ahead and say fraud. What say you? The looks of this, to me, Democrats like to play this game where they say the red states rely on the federal government for everything. We don't. The blue states are net taxpayers and the red states are not. We are supporting them. Now, why is that? What's that all about? To be fair, West Virginia does receive a heck of a lot of money from the federal government. And with Trump basically cutting everything off, it means bad news. Bad news for everybody. But you know what? I'm for it. I'm ultimately for it. The people of West Virginia will figure things out for themselves. They must. We can build new industries. But these plans, these games they play, the government money is meant to control them politically. That's why they do what they do. You may wonder, my friends, why is it that the Republicans are the Washington Generals of the Democrats' Harlem Globetrotters, or at least they used to be? The Democrats ran the show, and the Republicans would just go, oh, slow down there, Democrats, and let them get away with it all the time. The federal government would basically say, if you want the money, you got to toe this line. In your schools, we want DEI programs. Do you want the money or not? Hey, it's federal law. We're just following the law. And so all of these states would agree. And then you end up with red states where, I got to tell you, take a look at the political persuasion of these individuals. You got people that are conservatives that are pro-gay marriage. Hey, let's go back 15 years and see what that's all about. 15 years ago, even Democrats were not pro-gay marriage. How does that happen? Federal funds offered to states, but you have to adhere to their curriculum. the Department of Education and such, and they are going to shift the psyche of these populations. Now, in blue areas, it's as far left as you can get. In red areas, it's more conservative, but always skewing to the left until now. It's a scam. I think it's all a big scam. This unemployment insurance fraud that Musk's team found, I'm willing to bet that the states knew full well they were taking money from the federal government in excess of what they should be fraudulently. I will accuse those states of that. It's an opinion. I don't know for sure. Because who doesn't want the money? Now, the right being, let's just say the left is unscrupulous and the right has scruples. The right's not going to play the dirty games. They're going to march in lockstep. They're going to maintain a certain degree of conservative values while they shift leftward. The left, they learn from the best. They're going to smuggle, siphon, and steal. But I'll tell you why. I also believe this is likely intentional fraud by the state at the state level. Take a look at what DOGE uncovered with USAID and this ring of NGOs that largely have staff that exist in the D.C. area, in Democrat-controlled areas, where everybody is just well off and getting paid for nothing. What are they getting paid for? Serious question. These lawyers at these NGOs, some were formed a month prior and received billions of dollars. So when we see how they're siphoning this money, am I supposed to then go, oh, but this was totally on the level, but just a mistake? Nope. I think we can explain a lot of the birthdays as typos. I think we can explain so much more as intentional fraud with accomplices in the state level. That is, if an individual was claiming unemployment insurance for a baby, then the person who works there just says, don't worry about it. Because you got to use real people. You need social security numbers that line up. You take a look at everything Elon Musk is uncovering in the federal government, and we see wanton fraud, waste, and abuse. And abuse, man, really takes you home. That's where they buy a $500 hammer they don't need. So now, as DOGE continues its great work, expect more activists, more anger. Why? Well, look, man, he's cutting them off from their money. So if you're at an NGO that funds protests and they just told you the spigot has been turned off, that $1 billion you have, that's the last billion you get. They're going to say, okay, how much do we need to foment mass protests and violence to terrify Elon Musk and force his hand? You could do that for a couple $1 million, and that's a big budget. I think that's what we're likely going to see. The powers that be, these corrupt entities that are taking in money fraudulently, be it through unemployment fraud or whatever they're doing, they don't want the money train to stop. Would you? Okay, you're a good person. You have morals. You wouldn't take the money. You wouldn't steal. These people do. They've done it, and they don't want to stop. I mean, go to these people, and it's like a lawyer getting $5 million a year who lives in McLean, Virginia, and you're like, you're no longer getting that $5 million. He's going to say, who do I have to sue to make sure I keep getting my money? Because I ain't going to go work at a regular firm. I ain't taking no regular job. And then understand the kind of country that we live in. Unfortunately, my friends, we live in a country where large amounts of people don't do work and they make a ton of money. So when I see some of these leftists and they're saying the wealthier parasites, blah, 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 and I'm like, you know what the problem is? You're pointing the finger at Elon Musk. He's the guy who started a business. He made money off his business. The parasites are the people who are stealing the money through government and not doing any work. So what are you doing about that? Unfortunately for us, they're doing nothing. Elon Musk is doing something. So I'm no default the billionaires are a good kind of person. I think they should pay whatever their fair share of taxes is. Now, how do you define fair share? I don't know. Maybe it's proportional to the amount of money they paid. You know, the top 20% of the net taxpayers in this country and the bottom 80 don't pay taxes. They do, but they receive more than they pay. That's not a sustainable system. I do believe it's fair that to a certain degree, we invest taxes from wealthier people to help poorer neighborhoods, but it's not being done that way. They're just stealing it all, exploiting it all, sending it to their buddies so they get to own mansions and be rich in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. And they certainly don't like that Elon Musk is putting a stop to it. I'm for it, though. I'm for it. Let me just ask you guys as we round this one out. Comment below. I already know the answer. Do you believe that Democrats are intentionally stealing from the government? What a stupid question to ask. I'll leave it there. Stay tuned. Timcast IRL is coming up next, and we will see you all in a couple hours.